Hey guys, this is Thomas.
This is Taylor.
This is Ryan.
And we're back again with another 3 Dudes, 1 Blog podcast. This podcast is for the week of June 27th, I think. June 27th.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Something like that. This week, I'm drinking
Oh, God.
the Moerlein OTR, Over the Rhine Ale.
So, Ryan, what's your topic?
This amber
you
ale
moved in next door, Taylor.
takes you back
Yeah, I
to
did actually move in
1800s
next
over
door.
the Rhine,
We
the German
literally-
neighborhood where
Oh
brewing
my
was born
God.
in Cincinnati. It is reminiscent of
I went
early
to that
settlers'
bar
ales
that they were
brewed
talking
by
about Motor or
OTR's
whatever
finest
on the
ingredients.
weekend,
Yeah,
and
residents.
Did you like
An
Motor?
OTR.
But now-
I've been to Motor before.
Sets the
Not a
standard
loser.
for today's craft amber ale. The
But
medium
you hadn't
malt
had OTR
body
draft
is
before?
met with a subtle hop
know.
addition to give
Well,
OTR
I agree with him.
a
I think
perfect
it's better in the
balance.
can, actually.
New
And
recipe.
You heard it here first. It's better in the can.
Yeah, I think I do like it better in the can.
It's weird.
Well, it might just be because I don't know if I've had it very much since they changed the recipe.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I haven't either. I couldn't tell you the last time I actually had a real OTR. Anyway, yes, I did move in next door. We share a wall now.
Yeah, so we basically live together.
Ow, ow.
I got a beer out of my fridge today
Yeah.
because I could.
Taylor was having headset problems the other day, and I just walked over to his house to fix them.
It. Which I forget even what it was. Anyway.
It was you can't plug your headset into
Oh,
USB
yeah,
3.0
I
ports.
couldn't figure out which one it was plugged into. I really don't like my motherboard.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily your motherboard. You might be able to upgrade your USB 3.0 drivers to fix that.
That's a good point, which I probably need to do since Windows 10 happened. Anyway,
At any rate, I bought a 1070.
so that's a thing.
Whoa.
And then he immediately regretted it, but it was too late.
Hashtag no regrets.
Hashtag buyer's remorse.
Well, I also just paid $800 to have my air conditioner fixed.
Yeah, that would be the main problem. It's not that you
So-
regretted buying the card. It's just bad timing.
It was like I just check now in stock every few times a day just for funsies, and I saw that the 1070 was in stock at Newegg, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just look at this, and I pulled it up, and it was like 1070 plus a mouse, $480, and I was like, I guess sure, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I bought it, and then I realized, wait a minute, I don't need this.
What am I doing? Because what do you have right now? Do you have a 980 Ti?
No, I have two 780s and
That would
Sly.
explain the boxes. I don't know why I
Yeah.
even asked that question. But that's the thing.
So
Interesting tidbit of the day. I read that the new, I think it's the RX 480s.
yes,
If you put two of them in a system, supposedly they overpower a 1080.
yes, two RX 480s. Will probably might give you
right over.
similar performance or a little bit better than a single 1080.
So, take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I actually looked at getting two 480s instead of a 1070 because two 480s is the same price roughly the same price as a single 1070. About $450.
Yeah.
So two 480s can outperform a 1070, but with my small case,
There's also more problems, though, because that's Crossfire, right, at that point?
right, yeah, you're running Crossfire, and
Which-
then you always have to worry
yeah,
about
there's all-
multi-GPU scaling.
All sorts of different problems that come out with that. There's configurations you have to deal with. So, if you're used to it, by all means, why not? But on the other hand, I don't see why.
There's a bird. George, there's a bird in the window by the door. It's just sitting up there.
Just
That's
checking
so
it out.
dope.
He's scoping your place out right now.
That's
He's like,
so
what
weird.
can I poop on if I get in there?
George was just like, she couldn't even see it, and she knew there was a bird over there.
Georgia got halfway to the bird and they gave up.
She's too sleepy.
Anyway,
So who wants to go first? Because we talked about
I
this
will
for
go
last time.
first. How's
Okay,
that?
T-Dog.
All right.
Because I have a somewhat lame, but I think interesting topic.
The best topics.
So
They really are.
Blizzard, Overwatch is happening, right? They're kind of monitoring things. Competitive came out very recently, but what's interesting is that they decided to do a nerf, not the Widowmaker nerf, but a nerf to Torbjorn.
Torbjorn.
on only consoles, which I thought was interesting. And apparently, I believe, if I remember correctly, the reasoning for them doing it is because with aim assist and the fact that you don't have a mouse and keyboard, it's harder for people to hit the turret, and the turret hits you so quickly that it's, imbalanced and all that kind of stuff. So
is it imbalanced or are console players babies?
So I was reading an article about it, and they were talking about with the way that like consoles and like the thing that you always talk about is like, the why PCs are superior to consoles or whatever is like it takes a second for like you to drag the controller
to stick it
to the turret.
Yeah.
But the turret
Right.
locks on like instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So like the turret melts people before they have a chance to react.
And people,
Right.
I would say to a degree, it's not only just the fact that it's a different platform, like you're saying, and the fact that it's like they're console people, it's going to happen. But at the same time, it is the fact that like it's hard. I feel like it's harder for me to do stuff under pressure with a stick than it is harder for me to do stuff under pressure with a mouse. Like it's easier for me to aim to the turret and then start shooting it if it's shooting at me than it would be with a controller.
Well, and there's other things that are weird about Torbjorn in that the cooldown for the turret starts the second you place it.
Yeah.
Where like a lot of people would argue the cooldown for the turret should start once the turret is destroyed.
Which is that what they did on the console too? I forget.
No,
I
I
think
don't
they
think
did
they did
something
that.
to cool down. But necessarily what the nerf was isn't necessarily what I want to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was the
Okay.
fact that like, which I was mentioning to you earlier, Microsoft is supposedly having this push where they're going to enable mouse and keyboard on the Xbox, right? And so we've already talked about the implications of that and how that might put them at an advantage over people that are just using the controller. What if it's in an FPS? All that kind of stuff. So how do you, as Blizzard, handle the situation where you want to put a patch out for consoles, even if it's not Torbjorn, it's someone else, right? You want to put out a patch for consoles because there's something that's harder to do with controllers than it is with a mouse and keyboard. But what if one of those consoles now supports mouse and keyboard? Like, are you going to start dealing with whatever inputs you're using? That, like, if you're using Torbjorn, you would have that nerf, while the other team would not if they're having a controller?
Well, from what I was reading is Blizzard said from the beginning they were going to treat the console players and the PC players separate.
Which we all
gonna
think they
keep
should.
them in separate baskets.
Yeah.
And like they were going to nerf if something was out of whack on the consoles and it wasn't out of whack on the PCs, they would bring just the consoles in line, which this case was Torbjorn on PC had a win rate of like 59% or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is high, but reasonable.
Lot of defensive
Torbjorn on
positions,
consoles had a win rate of like 79%.
Yeah.
Sounds
So-
reasonable.
Seems legit.
Yeah.
So they needed to do so. I'm not saying,
No, I still agree
Yeah.
that the patch needed to happen.
but
yeah.
the broader topic of
what do they do?
I think you just have to deal with the minority. How many people are actually going to use a mouse and keyboard on an Xbox One?
Is a good question to start with.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the bigger thing is Blizzard and other developers can look at this mass data and say, okay, Xbox One is now supporting mouse and keyboard input, but
Yeah.
we don't see any difference
If-
in win rate.
If 2% of your Xbox One player base is using a mouse and keyboard and 98% are using
You're gonna patch the
controllers,
you're gonna patch the
gonna patch
98
it for the 98%.
Yeah, no, I totally
and
agree.
you're just gonna deal like it's not a problem if they nerf a character for the 98% majority. The people with a mouse and keyboard aren't even gonna know
the
the
difference
nerf,
really.
like specifically with this nerf specifically.
Yeah.
there is no difference in. Well, there's no difference in the fact that like it doesn't negatively affect the mouse and keyboard players.
who are
and-
playing as Torbjorn, for instance,
It's
because
still
it's
a
all
level
related to the turret.
playing field of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't boost the control players while still hitting the mouse and keyboard players
Yeah.
or whatever. Everybody gets nerfed down together uniformly.
Now, I suppose that wouldn't be the case for like more particular patches. Like if they were doing something to, like, It's harder to hit headshots as Widowmaker on console. What if we made it easier? So then the guy with the mouse and keyboard was like, shredding through people then because it was easier for him.
Yes,
or
that's
something.
where it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
That would be like
Dangerous.
that'd be boosting a character. They
Yeah.
would be boosting something and making something easier. When you're going down and you're bringing everything down uniformly,
who cares?
It doesn't inversely affect any party.
That's a good
When-
point. I never
if
thought
you
about it that
boost
way.
something up, you potentially
There could be bits you don't intend on affecting.
Yes.
Right. Well, I mean, you can kind of go either way with nerfs and buffs. It's just easier to manage with nerfs.
Always easier to cut lower than it is to add on.
Right. Well, because, for example, when
There's
they
an analogy
nerfed
for
Widowmaker and McCree,
Yeah.
like Widowmaker's body shots being nerfed means that Zenyatta
Can live.
and Tracer are much more reasonable plays against Widowmaker now.
Yeah.
Because it used to be a scoped up Widowmaker would kill you in one shot.
And now you actually stand a chance against a good McCree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, McCree was just
A different problem.
fan the hammer against tanks was just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that a tank is supposed to be a tank for a reason, and for McCree to do 3/4 of your damage by pressing one button,
After stunning
Is
you and doing
like-
it for free.
it was just insane.
Yeah, it was stupid.
So bringing him down to at a maximum half the damage if he hits you with all 6 headshots or whatever it is. It's like
Yeah.
250 max now instead of like 400 max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that I'm even advocating that this topic is even more ridiculous, but the fact that even if Microsoft supports mouse and keyboard on the console, I would have to imagine that games who are also PC games aren't suddenly going to just magically recognize that their inputs are now mouse and keyboard versus controller. There will probably have to be a patch. It will probably have to be developer supported. So this is all even assuming that these games enable mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, that's true. And that, I mean, if you want to go into the broader sense of expanding, which is kind of where you were talking about, is if Xbox goes down like they've gone down this path of they're saying we're allowing
supposedly.
mouse and keyboard on Xbox One. It would be interesting to see, are there certain games that lock that down?
Yeah.
Like Call of Duty, for instance, would Call of Duty block out?
Oh yeah,
mouse
like
and
not
keyboard?
allow mouse and keyboard on consoles, or would they? Who knows? Maybe they make it
because
bleed
they did say in the E3 conference talking about cross-play or whatever they want to call it between Play Anywhere.
Play anywhere.
There is going to be
TM.
cross-platform competition where appropriate.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Basically, they're saying if the PC players won't shred you,
So, like-
we'll let them play with you.
Forza Horizon 3 or whatever
Is a good example.
You can fairly race people via PC and Xbox. Like there's no advantage. I mean, somebody could have the actual wheel and
Yeah.
might have an advantage, but
But the wheel is compatible with
the
PC
wheel's
and-
compatible with both. Whereas they aren't going to put Halo, I would bet, is never
Probably
going
not.
to be cross-platform.
But there are also
Well,
examples.
it'll
of,
be cross. You can play it on PC and you can play it on.
but they're probably not
Xbox,
going to
but
let the
you
lobbies
won't be-
mingle. Yeah.
Yeah, you won't let the actual multiplayer lobbies mingle. They'll let, and like that's what they even said. It was like Gears of War. I think they said horde mode and campaign is co-op.
So you can cross-plat that, but
PvP
multiplayer,
is not going to be cross-play.
which makes sense.
Yes.
That, however, is not to say that all PC and console games are like PC's always better. I would say an example would be like Diablo 3. I enjoyed the console version better as long as you didn't have 4 people on the same console.
So the PC version is almost always better. The PC is just always better.
That's what happened.
Well, let me tell you why.
let me lay it down.
Let me lay down
Lay
the
it
truth
down.
bomb for you.
Console Minecraft.
You enjoyed the
Sounds so much
console
superior.
experience more because the controller layout,
Yeah.
correct? you can plug a controller into your PC. Boom.
Game.
Mind blown.
I don't,
Yeah, so I
don't
don't
know.
think that Microsoft allowing mouse and keyboard on Xbox One is going to hurt anybody. I
No.
think Halo, I think Call of Duty, I think Gears of War would all be A-okay in enabling mouse and keyboard support and never seeing any kind of impact from it because like Ryan was saying,
Who's going to use it?
yeah, your player base is going to be very small. I mean, just about every console since the Super Nintendo has supported mouse and keyboard support.
Yeah.
The
Very few
PlayStation
of-
1, the Sega Dreamcast, the Nintendo GameCube, the PlayStation 2, the
But
PlayStation
very few
3.
of those games for those consoles have supported it, and even less people have used it.
Right. I mean, like PS3, one of the, like, back in 2006, 2007, it was
Back in the day.
it was a similarly big deal as it is now, which is to say not a big deal at all, that PlayStation 3 was going to support mouse and keyboards. And Unreal Tournament 4 or Unreal Tournament 3 or whatever, the Epic's attempt at bringing Unreal Tournament back supported mouse and keyboard on PS3.
I was gonna say which one, the one that's current or the one back when. Anyway,
No, the one, the sequel to UT 2K4
Yeah.
that did not take off.
well, as I also said, it also comes down to who's going to enable the support, who's going to use it. So I just thought it was an interesting fact that I don't want to say Blizzard's the first to ever do this because I doubt they are. I'm sure someone's done something similar to patch a console game separate from their PC counterpart. But I thought it was quite interesting to think about it in that manner.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the big thing about,
That's long.
yeah, it is long, about the Overwatch change versus other changes
Yeah.
is that it's not simply a lot of games have different kinds of netcode pieces for like hacking and stuff on PC. But the fact that the balance of the game is different on consoles is unique.
It's really cool.
I mean, it's kind of like Destiny has split up PvP and PvE stuff.
yeah.
Of like tweaks to individual guns of like there's specific guns that are like, well, this gun has a 1,000% boost against PvE enemies.
Oh, like a shotgun, I think.
versus PvP,
Yep.
it is normal or whatever. So, I mean, that's
That's a good example.
intra-game splitting of like, like there was the first big boost of damage of like they gave 100% increase to shotguns because nobody used shotguns in PvE activities,
Right.
but they were PvP monsters. So they're like 100% damage boost to all shotguns against PvE. PvP, they reduced it by like 20%. So like that's just inside the own game of like if you shoot this enemy, it gets 100% damage boost. If you shoot on this enemy, it gets a 25% damage reduction.
Yeah.
So
Bungie's so weird.
Games are weird, Thomas.
it was a necessary
Games are
balance,
weird.
but
I was watching some video, the Did You Know Gaming about the PS4, and I had forgotten that Bungie apparently had a hand in creating the DualShock 4.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Like what part?
Like Sony took prototypes to Bungie or sent prototypes to Bungie and said, "What do you think?" And they said, "Oh, change this, make this, do whatever." I mean, they didn't say like, "Oh, Bungie are the ones that said they should put a touchpad in it" or anything like that. Like,
It was just like, this
We
felt
know
weird.
Bungie's not that stupid.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they just kind of like did
Why is there even
general
a
stuff.
touchpad?
Now, what's really cool is when you plug in your PS4 controller to your PC, the touchpad works just like a trackpad.
I think it's because it's just a trackpad.
really cool.
Mind-boggling.
I think it's just a trackpad.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really cool though.
I mean,
Did
it's
you
so
know
cool,
there's different inside guts of PS4 controllers?
What?
Continue.
Like the guts of a PS4s vary. So
I mean, the controllers
one
or
of
the console?
The controllers.
Okay, that makes sense.
One of the Rooster Teeth employees had one of those PS4 anniversary like silver ones, like
Oh, the
Uh-huh.
20 year? The 20 year?
and the touchpad broke, so he bought a used one
That he was
of,
just going
like,
to swap
that
out.
was going to swap out and opened them up, and the parts inside were completely different.
Nice.
That's weird.
Well,
For the touchpad, it's specifically.
uh-huh.
I wonder if it just changed over generations. Like the first batch of them were different, and then they figured out a better way, so the rest of them are the same or something.
Well, it's probably every now and then when they find ways to make it more efficient to manufacture, they change it.
Probably.
All three
However,
of the
that's still very
controllers-
interesting.
The 3 controllers that I have here all have the same insides for the most part. I know one thing that Sony definitely changed is they changed the thumbsticks that they were putting on them because the thumbsticks would fall apart,
Like they did.
which is why I've replaced the thumbsticks on 3 controllers.
What'd you replace them with again, Thomas?
Just like cheap
Xbox
$2. Oh yeah, I put 3 Xbox One grips on one of them, but yeah, we should play The Division.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well,
Oh, is
once
that going to be...
once
Oh,
that
you
content
wanna
drops.
segue.
Is this your topic?
somewhat.
Unintentional segue.
So, my favorite boy, Pete Tassie,
P-Tassie.
PTAS.
wrote an interesting article on Monday
Tassie is nasty.
talking about the Division's DLC, which is when even he wrote, is like, did anybody else know that the Division's DLC was dropping tomorrow?
Yeah, no, I saw
Which
a
is when I
post. I was like,
texted
what?
you and was like, did either of you know the Division DLC is dropping tomorrow? And we
Whoops.
were just
Yeah.
like, well, turns out it's only for Xbox One and PC.
Oh, so convenient. We have more time.
We have another.
Well, you
month-
know they'll actually.
We have another 5 weeks because we don't get it till August 3rd.
It's 5 weeks? That's
August
a bit long.
3rd.
They'll actually advertise the launch of the DLC when it comes out for the platform that everybody bought it on.
So we'll talk about that.
The only platform
So
that matters.
his premise, though, was more about DLC in general.
Mm-hmm.
So he specifically referenced
Yeah.
2 different types of DLC.
Okay.
One of the Division, where it's the timed exclusive DLC.
I saw this article.
One group gets the DLC and the other group has to wait, and then
X amount of
after
time.
X amount of time they get the entire said DLC.
Right.
Comparing that to Destiny DLC, where both parties get the DLC together, but then
Bits of it.
bits of
Bits
said
of it.
DLC is exclusive for an entire year.
Like, for
And
instance...
which is
Sniper.
worse to the consumer. I mean, he even says in his article, both are anti-consumer. Both are bad for gamers. Like, both of them
It's
are strictly
stupid.
there to line the pockets of the developers. But, like,
Publishers.
which one, or publishers,
to be accurate.
which one is more egregious in that, like, making one party wait 30 days till they can play the content, so like in this case, the Division, like, some company did some analysis and said, like, the Division sold 3.4 million copies of the Division. 1.3 of which have been on Xbox and PC. 2 million have been on PlayStation 4.
Right.
So 60% of the audience is getting the shaft and having to wait 30 days. While on
All those noobs.
the Destiny's case, the minority is getting punished, but it's not just Xbox is getting punished in having to wait to get guns and armor and levels for an entire year. But at the same time, Sony players are getting punished in the fact that Bungie only codes one playlist for both parties. So the strikes never get put on the weekly rotations.
How do you
What?
play the strike if it's not on the weekly rotation?
I mean, you could play it, like, you could just play it on
You can
the
just pick it.
normal level and pick it. But,
Uh-huh.
like, the weekly rotation of the heroic strikes as,
The
like,
bit that
the
advances your
challenging
character.
difficulty, and then the Nightfall,
Uh-huh.
like, the super difficulty that gives you end-game rewards. The exclusive levels never are on those playlists. The weapons are never sold by the weekly exotic vendor.
So basically what you're saying is the content is there, but it's only there as fluff.
The content is there, but it's only there as fluff, in that the level, except for the first time you play it, will never give you anything. The only way to get the guns is through completely random RNG. There's no way to buy them.
Man, I still think that the division method is the worse method. I would rather miss out on one level and 5 guns forever than miss out on the entire expansion for a month.
And I think I would lean to agree with you in that I've been on both sides of this now. For years, I was on the Call of Duty Xbox side of I was getting DLC 30 days before Sony was.
For those plebes.
The first case I've been in the shaft of this was Destiny, where Sony got shit and I didn't. And other than Hawkmoon, there was nothing that Sony got that was worth a damn. The mission they got is easily the worst strike that exists. One of the 2 guns they got.
Have you played it?
Yes, I've played it. Everybody
How did
hates
you play it?
Because after the
the
year,
first
Yeah, so it's available now.
It's
Yeah.
available now.
so the new
Man,
stuff is not available yet. But
Destiny's
the first
so
stuff is.
old. Remember when we used to talk about Destiny all the time?
Remember when Ryan still talks about Destiny all the time?
He doesn't.
When's the last time you turned it on? I haven't turned it on in a while. Mostly just because I've been too busy. But
We played all
Saturday.
weekend long.
No, it was Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah, he
Played some Challenge of Elders.
was just waiting for competitive mode.
I'll
to
be the
launch.
weird one and go in the opposite direction of both of you, because it sounds like, well, okay, I will say that it seems like it's somewhat of a case-by-case basis, because this one sounds a bit lamer than I think it would normally be, because not only are the Xbox players having to wait a year, but it sounds like the PlayStation players are kind of getting like this limped version of this content that they're supposed to have, in the sense that it's hard to get, it's annoying to use, and it's kind of pointless in terms of progressing your character. So at the end of the day, it's just like, here's some stuff, there it is, have fun with it, but it doesn't really do anything for the game. So if it weren't like that, if it were, because I'd imagine that's more of a developer choice to make it that way, like they could make the PlayStation players have that content in the weekly playlists and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if it weren't like that bit, where it was just that the Xbox players had to wait a year for this stuff, I would I think your point is that a year is a long time. Like I'm saying by the time that content comes out,
Doesn't even matter.
yeah, do I care? Is that really something I needed? Like, evidently, probably things have been nerfed and the meta shifted, and they've probably made so many patches that gun's basically nothing anyway at this point.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, that's kind of what ended up happening. Of like, everything was shit in the first year 1 exclusives, except for one hand cannon. And then by the time year 2 came around, they nerfed it.
hand
and
cannon, so no one
it
needed
wasn't
it. And that's why they gave it for free, because they're like,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of nothing special now, so here you go.
So during this year exclusivity,
Yes.
if I was playing, never mind.
He figured it out.
Never mind.
Yeah, I could literally
But,
feel
so-
the light.
One thing,
the bulb.
one counter argument. So if you're on the Destiny side,
Okay.
one counter argument too is that kind of makes the Division even more shittier for Sony consoles.
Right.
And this was a funny, when I read it, I laughed.
Okay.
But
Out
it's,
loud.
it's true
He lolled.
in that
I'm waiting.
because the Division is usually bugged,
Right.
Sony is going to miss out on whatever exploit the Xbox players get to exploit.
Oh, because
they'll
they
patch
have
it
to
by
wait?
the time it comes out for Sony consoles.
that's pretty funny, actually.
I consider that a pro because we don't have to go into a mission and get 98% through and have the game fucking bug
It
out.
also
no,
means-
that's not like. I mean, there is the chance of bugging, but they're saying like.
But it's
I think
also
it's missing
certainty.
the chance for like.
What if Bullet
whatever
King?
version
No more
of
Bullet
Bullet
King.
King exists?
Yeah. Which, by the way, Bullet King's back.
I play legit. Also, when's the last time you even turned on the Division?
Literally the last time we played together.
When's the last time we played the
Like
Division?
4 months ago.
No, it was like probably 2 months ago.
It feels like 4 months ago, but it was probably like last month, for all I know. I don't keep track of this stuff
The
anymore.
new DLC does seem cool, and I'm
It
sad
seems
we're
very
gonna have
cool.
to wait a month for it.
I'm glad. By
I'm
the time
excited.
the new DLC hits,
Overwatch
we'll
is going to be
have-
like a little tamer.
Well,
We'll
I don't
be
know about
hitting
that.
our ranking cap, and
We'll be
competitive
we'll be
mode, and we
scrimming
won't
and
wanna
having
be-
our team
We
together.
don't want to be playing Overwatch anymore.
Yeah. Well, no.
We'll
So
be getting
we'll
so
be
pissed.
yeah, we'll
so-
be raging too hard.
Why are we playing these teams that are so good?
I can't wait to see what our skill rankings are. What do you think we got? So it's out of
30.
100.
30.
30?
42.
42.
Ooh,
Wow.
good number.
Ryan, I hope you just to like, in case you're not fully aware of the scale.
I'm
Like,
not fully aware of this. Yeah.
so
1 to
I
100.
thought you started out at 50 or something.
no, it's 1 to
Oh, I,
100.
wait, oh, I actually thought you did start out in the middle. I thought the middle was like average.
When I was reading that,
At least the GIF I saw
wait.
was like,
am I thinking, is the ranking for this different than the ranking
GIF,
for
the
your
GIF
MMR or MRR or whatever it is? Because I read that post you sent me, and he
That's-
said you started at like 1,000.
that is
And-
Oh
unrelated.
no, that is
You
different.
went up like
That is just
18
like your
points
ELO
or
rating
you
or your
went
MMR
down.
rating in casual.
ELO.
Okay.
Like that's really just related to how they matchmake you in the game.
Okay.
Right.
The competitive system is separate. I think either of us could be right at this point, but you start out at X number, whether that is 1 or whether that is 50 as an average. You play 10 placement
Well-
matches, which affects that rank and says, okay, like it brings you up to how good you seem to be doing or puts you down to how bad you seem to be doing. And then after those 10, it gives you a league, essentially, I would imagine. Or or does it just give you
so
a rank?
The way
I didn't
Overwatch
read that bit.
works is, as far as I know, and we will find out tonight when we start playing. As far as I know, you don't get a skill level until you've completed your placement matches, and then
okay.
you're placed at your skill level. And somebody's knocking on my door.
Do you want me to get it?
No,
I can get it.
Nicole will get it.
Thank you.
So
Anyway.
you play
You're
your
so busy.
you play your 10 placement
so
matches,
popular.
and then you get. I wonder now. Let's see who this is. Of course. Then you get your skill level, whatever that skill level is.
Yeah.
And once you have your skill level, that's all there is. There's no like League of Legends where like, oh, I'm tier 3 gold, silver,
Yeah,
bronze.
so it's just a number,
It's-
which I'd
if-
prefer.
If you're 30, you're 25, and I'm 20, that's it. Like that's your thing, and then it places you against people that are
Average.
averaged
Averaged
out,
against it. Yeah, okay.
team versus team average,
That's
and
cool.
it gives you
And
tells
so
you
what,
everybody's
if you
skill
win,
level.
Then you rank up, and if you lose,
Yep.
you rank down.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's also all based
Your
on.
rank, I mean, your skill level just goes up and down.
I'd
That's all
imagine
is.
that the stuff he described in that post, I think it was Kaplan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I'd imagine the things he described in terms of we take into account the hero you use on the map that you use and the stuff that you do and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure some of that's taken into account, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to what's the average team score on the other side and did you win or lose?
Well, yeah, that's what.
Well-
the thing that he was and so if you're what you're talking about is definitely the MRR or whatever that I was reading about is like it averages our MMR and their MMR, then it does an equation and say, okay, well, there's a 60% chance they win and there's a 40% chance you win.
And then it gives
So
you
if
like
you
the
win,
inverse of that.
You get a 1.4% win bonus, and if they lose, you get a 1.6 times loss bonus or whatever.
right, right.
But if they win, they only get a 40% win, and you only get a 40% loss or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically that, but boiled down to
Even
a
more.
1 to 100 number.
Yeah.
Now, I was watching a competitive overview from Overwatch Central, and they were saying that mid 50s is a really good score.
Snap.
So,
I
Like
was
30.
seeing something that said that already the scene is getting toxic of like people are joining matches and people are bitching like insta rage of like our team comp is so bad, what are you doing? Blah.
I'm sure
you
there's a
can't
lot
get rid
people
of
doing it.
toxicity.
Nope.
I know.
Yeah.
The gamers bring it, not the game.
I just thought it was funny that like the day, like literally the day competitive launched, it's like people are automatically tweeting. It's like today's the day I looked up how to mute a person in Overwatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so like I'm gonna be equally upset. I was Reddit. This Overwatch subreddit is now basically just about people complaining about competitive play. But like learn how to switch to the team chat.
One.
2, if you're not paying attention to the hero thing and you're auto picking Widowmaker on offense when we need a
Someone
support,
else, that's your own fault.
like, I mean, hopefully 25 is a high enough level. It's just like every other game. Like plenty of times when I was playing League of Legends solo queue, you'd have somebody who's just goofing off, and you're like, "Hey, man, you got to like get serious." And they said, "It's just a game." I'm like,
Then don't play ranked.
if it's just a game, don't fucking play ranked.
Like
Go back to quick
normal.
play or whatever it's called. And in League, it's just okay. So let's just move on so that we can get this
got
over
off
with
topic.
and play some Overwatch.
Yeah, we got off topic there. I thought that was interesting, Ryan.
Thanks, fam.
You're welcome. Ryan,
What's your great topic,
Thomas,
T-Moss?
what's your topic?
So I tried out the PlayStation VR this weekend.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Did.
I did.
How was that? Was it heavy?
It is like
Is it plastic?
it is plastic.
Is it metal? Is it unobtainium?
From what I've read, it sounds people say it's the most comfortable of all the things.
It was like
Interesting.
It was so. I sat down. The Best Buy ladies. Like one funny thing is like there's a local Cincinnati rep that does all of the PlayStation events.
Okay.
And like we're like best buds now. Like
Why?
I walked
'Cause you
in
went in 'cause
and I
you're
saw
like-
her like walking around Best Buy and I was like, she's doing this demo. And then she like walked over and started like setting it up and I was like, okay, I know who you are.
Okay.
I didn't say that. But we're basically best buds.
Why?
Well, because every Sony thing I
Were
tell
you
you
the
about
only
that I'm
one
like, hey,
there?
you guys want to go? And you're like, I'm busy.
You go
She's
to?
always there.
Oh yeah.
She's the local Cincinnati, like for this area, she's the Sony like local events rep. So she's everywhere that I go.
It's exciting.
Yeah. But so you sit down and she puts the headset on for you.
You can't do.
And-
So you can't touch it.
Well, no, you
No
can
touching.
touch it. She puts it on and like pulls the back strap in.
Oh, just
and then
like
you
adjusts
get to
it for you?
adjust
Yeah.
the actual goggles, and like pretty much immediately it was like super comfortable.
That's crazy.
Um,
Did it have like nice cushions?
It does. It has nice cushions on the front. Nicole played it with her glasses on, and it works fine with glasses.
Which is important because let's be honest, there are a lot of us.
yeah, I mean it didn't even like there was no
Perfect eyes.
there was no like even initial discomfort of feeling like, oh, there's something big on my head. Like it didn't even factor.
Which
in.
is probably what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean it's super comfortable. That was
When you
awesome.
have such shitty electronics in there, it's gotta be light, right?
Yeah, I mean it's only what like 2 batteries and a
Yeah.
screen in there.
Why would you have a battery?
I don't know.
They just took the screen off the Samsung GR.
They just literally
3 or
put
whatever
a
and
Samsung
put it
S6 Galaxy S6 in there and then just like an extended battery pack.
That's
it's made of cardboard, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Called Google
So
Google Cardboard, right?
so the
So how are the games?
The experience.
How did you like? How did it perform? Did it look good? What was it running on? Was it a PlayStation?
Did you get
was
to
it a
play
computer?
Final Fantasy 15?
I did not get to play Final Fantasy 15. There was just a few demos that you could select from. You had about 6 minutes to play.
Okay, that's a pretty
Um,
short time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're trying to cycle through a bunch of people.
I mean, yeah, that
Like
makes
you
sense.
could go
I
back and
thought you
do
were
other
the only
demos.
person there.
Yeah, yeah. The way I'm envisioning this, it is just you and her hanging out at the Best Buy.
Oh no, there were like probably 6 people there when it opened,
Oh, okay, cool.
which isn't a lot. Most of them got there in like the last 5 minutes. I
Makes
got
sense.
there at 11:25.
Exciting.
It started at noon. I was there like 45 minutes early.
I wanted to be first in line.
Well, I had to make sure. I'd rather be the crazy guy that sits at the Best Buy for 45 minutes to be first in line than the guy that gets there 45 minutes early when you really should have got there 2 hours early.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because realistically, this was the first time that there was a PlayStation VR in the tri-state area.
I think the Microsoft store. What was it? A Vive?
Yeah,
Or
I didn't know
Oculus?
that. She told me, she's like, oh, the Microsoft store in Kenwood has the Vive out for demo, and I was like,
Oh, does it still have it? I
What?
thought it was a one-day thing. We just happened to be there one day, and I looked over and like people were there, like 10 people messing with a headset, and I was like, oh,
oh, well, they had it Sunday at least.
I don't know if it's still there.
Microsoft's
probably
so
there.
much better.
Well, the Vive isn't Microsoft. Anyway,
HTC. Anyway,
Well, that's kind of weird too because Microsoft's like kind of like Oculus's thing, right? Like Microsoft and Oculus kind of were paired together, and
yeah, but
Well-
I think that was a partnership on Oculus' side. Like they wanted to partner with Microsoft, but I don't think Microsoft has to have like exclusive stuff with Oculus.
well, Microsoft is a very big company.
Also,
and
yes.
Xbox partnered with Oculus. Microsoft partnered with Vive. Nobody's talking. I mean, I don't know. They're probably talking. But
I mean, Oculus could just said, "Hey, do you want to give us controllers?" And Microsoft's like, "Sure, we'll sell you some controllers."
yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's probably the partnership.
So you get to choose a game, and I chose Eve Valkyrie,
And it was.
and it was like it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
how did it?
well-
What was it? So what was it running on? Was it just a PS4 hooked up
yeah,
to it?
It was just a PS4.
Like clearly hooked up to it?
Yes, like there was. This is a space about as big as this room.
Yeah.
There's a little table about half the size of this one with a Sony TV and a Sony PlayStation 4 that's just not like marked up or duct taped or anything. It's just like a PS4. It looks like the one I have
No
sitting
drawers.
upstairs. What?
Was it a cabinet of any kind?
No.
Okay.
It was just a literal PS4.
Just like a pedestal of a table.
Literally a table with a PlayStation
Got
on
it. Okay, good.
with a the USB coming out the back for the breakout box.
Yeah.
And then the breakout box was sitting on the floor, and then the VR headset was
And it looked nice.
over the chair. Yeah, I mean it was so the first thing I noticed, so I've never played VR before. And she was kind of like, "Are you sure you want to do Eve, because this is the most intense VR game there is in our demos, and is one of the most intense VR games in general."
And you said, "Do you know who I am?"
Interestingly, there was a tiny trash can behind the chair for quick
Just
access
in
if
case.
somebody's about to hurl. But I was like, no, I think I can handle it.
She was probably thinking to herself, here we go, get the trash can.
Yeah, she said, if you're feeling uneasy at all, just let me know. Just say something, and I'll come take the headset off immediately.
Yeah.
And I put the headset on, and I've never played VR before, so I was kind of hoping for some kind of watershed moment of,
Where you're like,
I open my
"Whoa."
eyes and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But
But in reality,
in reality, like immediately, I could see the resolution.
yeah.
So not like there wasn't like a screen door effect, and there wasn't like it was just like I was kind of hoping. I mean, not hoping. I didn't expect it to look like it was being run on a 1080,
Yeah.
but it definitely looked like it was running on a PS4
Oh, yeah.
at not 1080p at the minimum. So, like, I open and I'm in a cockpit and I look around a little bit and it's like, okay. It's like, all right, I can tell these textures
Are
are
textures.
textures, and
Because-
they're not like the highest resolution things.
But there was depth, right? It was 3D.
Yeah, I mean, it was 3D VR. And
No, I mean, it's just like when I this is also because I haven't done anything virtual reality related, but when I
Yes.
imagine someone describing a texture and like feeling like it's a texture,
oh yeah.
like I feel like that doesn't imply any depth. Is all I mean by that. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. It definitely looked 3-dimensional.
Okay.
And so you're
So
in
it was it was work. It's not
you're
like
in a
there was
cockpit.
like half of the refresh rate wasn't working. It was
no. It was just I immediately noticed like
it was a thing.
that the resolution is not, it's not a 4K screen. And I don't remember what Oculus and Vive's resolutions are, if they're 1080p or if they're 1440p. If they're 1080p, I feel like they'll probably run into similar issues. They'll look better than the PS4 game.
But they're not going to look like absurd.
I'm pretty sure it's some weird spec better than 1080p, but not like 4K.
Hopefully
or
it's
anything.
1440p.
Yeah.
Because like I've been so used to playing 1440p on my computer that like when I play games, and it's not a knock on the PS4, but like when I play games at 1080p, I can tell. I'm like, all right, this is not as sharp as I'm used to playing games at 1440. But
Hopefully the Neo fixes that.
no, I mean you can't change the resolution of
No.
the hardware.
Yeah, they don't even have 6 teraflops.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. So you start out and you're in a cockpit, you're in a fighter, and you're in like a traditional sci-fi, like you've got this big launch pad thing.
Yeah.
And they're talking to you, and I've got the headset on, and they put a nice pair of over-the-ear headphones on you, and they started talking. Not they, like the game starts, and they're like,
Right.
"All right, this is just a regular old
Burr, burr,
whatever
burr,
mission,"
burr.
burr, burr, and then like the lights start going like beep, beep, and like you hear the noise, and the headphones are really nice. So like everything else from outside of the game is gone. All I hear is the game. I'm looking around it. I'm just like trying to test the full.
Yeah. You're just
the
like
full scope of like what I can do. So yeah, I'm sitting here like turning around, looking down. I'm sure I looked crazy, but like I've only got 6 minutes. I got to make the most of
yeah,
this.
he had to get as much data as possible.
But it's once the launch sequence started, all my worries of resolution and like, oh, this is not like the most amazing looking thing I've ever seen just went away because like you hear like the noise.
Yeah, 'cause
and
once
the
it-
thing
once the
starts to
game
shake,
starts.
and I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa, and then like you shoot out and it just feels so cool because like you're shooting down this like whatever slingshot, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
spaceships shoot out on,
Launchy,
and I
yeah.
can like look to the sides and like I see the depth and I see, like you feels like I'm actually like
I guess it-
zooming forward.
I guess resolution, I mean, at the end of the day, like, even if you see the Jaggies, right, not much different than any other game, but at the same time, in the
Right.
middle of a firefight, you really don't notice the artifacts or the texture problems. You're kind of more focused on things that you're doing.
Yeah. So then, like, I get in, and I'm out, like, flying and doing space stuff, and
Yeah.
that's not really worth talking too much about. Because, like, if you've ever played any airplane game, it's basically that, but with space graphics.
The show.
It was, like, my favorite playing of an aircraft game, because in aircraft games, I always want to, like, look around, because, like, you got to get a really good visibility, and I could, like, literally, you know, I could look away from where I'm flying and see, okay, there's somebody over there, and like do a little boosty whatever maneuver. It was like, it was awesome. I was pleased. Yeah, I was happy about my pre-order. I wasn't like blown away.
But you felt it was worth your money.
Yes, I felt like it was everything I was expecting. I could have hoped for a higher resolution. And I did not feel motion sickness at all.
So did the headset vibrate?
No,
The chair vibrated?
no.
You just, okay, it sounded like you
The
said you
controller
felt
vibrated.
Well, the controller
Oh.
vibrates. Like, the controller vibrated, but it felt like...
Well, no, for sure. But like the way you
I'm
described it,
shaking.
I thought you legit were like they put rumble packs on the chair or something.
No, it's kind of...
I thought that'd be kind of cool.
It's really hard to explain. It's like the dream. You're
dream.
transported. Like, I didn't feel like...
I just
doesn't-
hope that all of the VR experiences, or most of them at least coming out, are not going to be shoot a pistol at the random person in front of you, aka the Final Fantasy VR experience. Because Eve Valkyrie seems very cool, and even though I don't necessarily like it, the Resident Evil thing seems very cool. But like,
I can't wait to play
I
it.
feel like there's going to be a lot of gimmicky things out there
Yeah.
for
Oh,
the
yeah.
first year or two.
When I was
Very
reading some stuff
gimmicky
about
things.
it post E3, and as Thomas said in our E3 podcast,
Yeah.
like using the word experience is definitely the right
Like,
word
yeah.
for a lot of things, and that like the Batman game is a Batman experience. Like it is like a 15-minute little gameplay.
Yeah. It's a
The-
demo.
Oh, I have to show you guys. Did I show you guys the final Bossman video where he montages where everybody says experience at E3?
No, but that sounds fun.
We'll watch that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'll watch that.
Go on.
And just that a lot of like some of the things that like Sony, and he wasn't necessarily bashing Sony, but he was just saying, hey, like these things that like don't think they're full games, don't think these are going to be huge things.
Yeah.
These are experiences. These are brief little tech demos,
Proofs of
basically.
concept to basically be like, look how dope this can be for 50
of,
minutes.
like,
Imagine if this was the
Just
game.
because they threw Batman
Yeah.
up on the screen
Yeah.
and literally didn't say anything, like don't think you're getting Arkham Asylum. Like think you're gonna play play as Batman for 10 minutes and like do Batman stuff, but then it's gonna be over.
Yeah.
And for what you're using, that might be more than enough.
Yeah, I mean,
And they definitely did say similar things of you immediately could tell it wasn't as powerful as a Vive. Not that it looked terrible, but they're like, you could immediately tell this isn't a Vive and this isn't an Oculus.
Right.
This isn't on par with that.
We'll have to get you in one of those and see what the difference is.
yeah, we'll just go to the Microsoft store.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Yeah, I am excited.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
I would never want you to not be excited about your $400 purchase.
$500 purchase.
$500.
God.
And just wait when you have to buy a Neo next March.
I will buy a Neo next March, and I'll like it. Because I'm an adult, and I can spend my money on whatever the fuck I want.
Exactly. especially $1,000 air conditioning units.
800.
Yeah.
Airbnb's paying for that.
So, I believe it's time to vote.
It is time to vote.
Overwatch?
I vote for Overwatch competitive mode.
Ryan. Yeah, like the half of Ryan's topic that wasn't even really part of Ryan's topic.
Hey,
What? No, I'm voting for Ryan's topic of DLC sucks.
Yes, I think I agree.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's go play some Overwatch.
Oh, yeah.
Adios.